You brought JR an ice cream cone. He's totally not here. We're live doing D&D After Dark, which is our after-action review of our game during the day. We are here with our show promoter, Chaos Actual. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I had went down into Newport. I had a big pizza and a big salad, and a cup of coffee, and I did my podcast and basically ran amok on China and Joe Biden, the Democratic Party, everybody I could get my hands on, Juneteenth. Got it all out of my system.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of getting out of his system, we have J.R. Hanley.
Good evening.
Cisco say you can play today?
Well, I was here, wasn't I?
Right on.
Ice cream.
Yeah, we were just showing off ice cream for you.
I know. I'm gonna murder you one day.
I actually, if you don't like that, how about some Pringles potato
Pringles?
chips? I've got 3 flavors. Yeah, I've got like 3 cases of it sitting here.
Oh, God. And speaking of 3 cases, we have Bren Villanueva being played by Rob.
Hello.
The mustached murderer of the Forgotten Ruin. A couple people wanted to know if the mustache was a precursor, like, if when you started playing, did we know that this was going to happen because the mustache was so prolific? The only thing you were missing was the twirling.
I actually made that joke last week when we first started talking about a Rundapad, and I said, well, maybe a werewolf. And then we're talking about the body hair, so I'm like, yeah, maybe Bren's mustache keeps growing and growing. It's actually a sign.
And then we have making a return, triumphant return. We have Ted, who played Samson today. How are you, sir?
Doing well, thank you. Good evening, good morning, wherever you're at.
And I was committed to making gnome leather mouse pads.
Limited run. There's only so much I can get out of that height.
That boy was slaughtered all
Some
over.
of it has holes.
Yeah, Walt made sure to make clear that the wolf had pretty much rendered James M. Ward all over the landscape.
You know what, though? I regret not running off of this body like a squeak toy and burying it somewhere.
No. Sparky and I were talking about that offline. He thinks that the 98 that Nick rolled means that he crushed his skull.
No. A 98 with a rendered an intelligence drop, right? And a 99 was crushed sculling.
99. Well, he got a 99.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So 99 and 100 is technically on the list is a decapitation.
Yeah.
Yep.
So your
I
crit might be a little bit.
I did, for the audience, I did absolutely roll a 99. I rolled a 9, and then I picked it up again, and I was like, oh shit, 9.
Well, see, I think your crit table is a little different than mine, but I know 98, it was crushed skull and minus intelligence. So on mine, he could have come back as a potato pretty much.
Well, he's got the ring of regeneration on, so
No, and that's the thing.
No, he didn't. He forgot to put it back on.
He didn't put it on, right? But that's the other thing too, is that ring is specifically
For undead.
like a regeneration ring for undead. It doesn't do anything if you're
dead.
if you're alive.
So did he write a will, or do we just loot his body?
He just loot his body.
Well, the thing is, some of his body you're gonna have to track down Bren and
find his poop and go through it. Oh, that's the ring.
Oh my
If the ring
God,
is placed on him, does he come back as undead?
that's something you'd have to find out.
You know what, though? Walt, if he'd have survived, would there have been a chance that Benny could have come a gnome werewolf? Maybe I was reading a little bit about werewolves in various editions of D&D, and this there's an entry weremole. What the hell's a weremole? Oh, it's a gnomish thing.
Well, he'd be like a werepoodle.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think
a chihuahua.
the were disease though is only if you I don't think it affects you if you're dead. I mean,
No,
if you
I'm just saying
die.
if he had survived.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's
Come
some
back as an
interesting like
ROAF, right?
when you get into Ravenloft, there's some interesting things that happen.
Oh yeah.
There's like if you get killed by a werewolf or werewolves in Ravenloft, if I
You could
remember
be
correctly,
cursed.
yeah, but like you become either a different werewolf or they can brew like their beer out of you. Like you become like a plant or something like that. It's in one of the modules, but yeah. So I don't know. He was slaughtered all over the place. Like if you brought him back to life, there would be 2 feet of his 4 feet left. with a malformed skull.
I was just imagining Baldur the squeak toy.
Oh my god.
Well, you need to get a gnome squeak toy and let him go at it and take a video of it.
Take a video.
Yes.
But I will
Separate
absolutely
one
say
of those,
this,
like, miniature dog wheelchairs for him.
Oh my god. So you mean those what do you call it? Those harnesses with the 2 wheels on the back?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
but I will say this absolutely 100%. We played, D&D Greyhawk with James for a year, and if any of us would have done what he was doing today, he would have jumped us. Same way, like So he has no leg to stand on. He stayed behind and exposed himself.
They've been gnawed off.
Well,
And it was so unnecessary. I don't understand what was going through his head. Why he
I don't either.
separated.
There's a lot of stuff I didn't understand.
Yeah. But well, let's start off at the beginning, right? So you guys, your entire thing was to go in and take out these because you found out last time there were 3 like undead lords on the island. So these factions, and your whole shtick in coming here was you needed a base of operations before you went after the Forge. So this was like one of the first legs where you were going to jump in and take control of this island. So you get in, and then all of a sudden Nick returns, because the last time we saw Nick, he flew off into the sky to go ahead and
Interface
with the Admiral.
Ticket interface. What?
So there were all sorts of jokes about that. But then, of course, Nick returns with some mages, and you guys get some long overdue payback on some of these items that you've been collecting for pretty much like 14, 15 sessions. What did you think of some of these items when you found out what they did?
It was nice just to know, and I could update the sheet. That was pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know I had a boomerang, so that was good.
Yeah, plus 2 boomerangs.
Yeah.
The thing is too, now you get XP for that. You get XP for knowing what it is and how it and how it operates. So I mean that's kind of cool. And then of course we get introduced to Samson, which we only get glimpses of Samson today in the game. We don't really get a good sense of what's up with Samson. What did you think of some of the play style today, Ted? Because you've played D&D before.
What do you call D and what?
D&D. You've played D.
Oh no, yeah. No, I really enjoyed this style. It's a little different than what I've done in the past. I mean, I've done plenty of D&D 3.5, 5th edition. I've done plenty of Rifts. I've done tons of systems, Savage World systems. I've done.
Now, did you do?
I've done tons of stuff.
Did you do riffs through Savage Worlds, or did you riffs through Palladium?
Mostly through Palladium. I have done some Savage Worlds riffs as well. But yeah, the way, I mean, every DM for every system is different, and I really enjoyed how you moved the action, and the action in this game seemed more cinematic. It didn't seem to get bogged down like a lot of other games that I've played in.
Right on. So yeah, we got the cool thing about Samson was that he's from that original crew that eventually landed in the Broken Teeth. So like when these guys first came to Forgotten Ruin, Ted, they took like a little expedition, and because the area that they're in the world is basically in the Caribbean.
Okay.
So they got onto mainland North America and tracked down the original rangers that had kind of stabilized the area, who were kind of like, they're all out of it. It's been 20 years since they landed, and they're all like, yeah, we're mostly farming and stuff. I mean, we got our hands in a couple of different pies, but yeah, that area down there is crazy. We want no part of it. You guys go for it.
Okay.
So if you come back and go for another session, it would be interesting to see what your particular slant and character bring to the table. But then you guys, of course, started moving forward. What did you think of the mercenaries?
I thought they were kind of cool. It was fun dealing with them. I did not expect Chaos Axel to kill them after he aligned with us.
Technically, it was his cloak.
Sure, violence. Undead mercenaries. That's a new one.
Yeah, that was the easy
least
twist.
to
I
me.
enjoyed those guys.
Well, we now know a little bit more about the cloak too. It's brethren with the guy we just killed.
And there's one more to kill.
Yeah.
Yep, and there's one more because you only killed one of the brothers. The other brother was, and that's one of the things that it told Nick. It was like, yeah, this is Darius. This is one of the brothers. This is one of our warlords. If Merrick, the other warlord, was here, we'd be in trouble. But he never shows up throughout the battle.
I bet Merrick is the cloak, and the other one is.
That's an interesting idea too. If it's only two brothers and not three, but when Nick goes full cloak and fights the mercenary commander, he obviously, like, everybody recognizes who it is, and or all of those mercenaries recognize who he is, and they're like, oh crap. What's that?
That whole thing was so cool, though.
So I do have a question.
Very
So when
cinematic. As
Oh.
put it.
Thank you.
So was I right that with the undead you had to use the silver? Because that's why I was hitting them with the dagger. Because I did have a sword and other things, but the silver dagger was the one I thought.
Well, the undead, you needed magical weapons, and you needed what do you call it? Silver would work with certain ones of them. Other ones need like cold iron and stuff like that. So it really depended on what you were getting. We'll talk a little bit more about what weapons work on what later when we get into the furry section of our
Whoa! I'm bailing out for getting the furry.
So
Right.
so specifically for the undead mercenaries that we were fighting, that I netted, and then when I went to stab them, I used the silver blade because I thought that's what you had to kill undead with. Was that wrong, or were they cold iron?
It depends. It depends.
Like a werewolf is typically the silver stuff you need.
Yep. Certain undead, like vampires, are affected by silver. These you've never fought before. And have you guys ever read Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser by oh crap, I can't remember. I'm gonna forget his name now. All of the Niwan tales. No. Fritz Lieber, Fritz Lieber. So some really cool fantasy stuff that had a very Finnish bent. And it was all centered around this like city where they were living. Fafhrd was this huge, barbarian mercenary, but he had fallen on hard times, and he teams up with this kid called the Grey Mouse, who's a thief, and he teaches he teaches Fafford how to be a thief to kind of support his income.
Sounds like a Wolfguard tale.
Right. And the problem is that in this area called Niwan, the city is guarded and protected by an undead army, which invariably throughout the story gets activated. But it was really, really neat to kind of play with those elements. They have these thing called Niwan ghouls in the story, and which is if you played old school D&D, in the section, there's a section in deities and demigods that went into the gods of Longmar, which is what those undead were, and it also talks about the Niwan ghouls. And I'm like, oh, that would be badass to have those ghouls with the the transparent skin, with the bones underneath, and have them as mercenaries on that island. So yeah, that's where I kind of stole that from. So yeah, those guys were fun.
I'm still trying to figure out how Benny had so many hit points. I have to go check, but I think
So
he had like
he-
19 hit points or something.
Yeah, he said he had 20 something, right?
I think he had like 40 something total or something.
Well, no, he had gotten to 20 something when he was
29.
the 5th level gunnery sergeant,
Right.
and then he had gotten 3 levels of thief.
How?
Right.
'Cause I'm tracking the XP, like I'm only at. Even if you look at what a thief's supposed to have, that still puts him at level 2.
Right. So, I mean, rather than bog down the game,
Yeah.
we could always do the accounting later. But at the same time, too, a lot of the stuff when he was playing, he keeps like reverting back to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm like, no, that's not how this works. But finally, you're just like, if he's not gonna, he's not gonna take the hint, it's like, fine, go ahead, roll your percentile. I'll look it up. I have AD&D right here next to me, so we can always make an adjust on the fly. But yeah, he did have quite a few hit points, and the thing is too, in White Box D&D, your hit points, as far as getting a hit dice, your hit dice cap at 9, right? So you can only get 9 hit dice, and then after that, you get so many hit points per level, depending on your class, and if you have a high constitution, you get extra and stuff like that. So, but even still, facing off against a werewolf when you don't have the kind of tools necessary to fend it off, and that's the other thing too, that Templar, his weapons were basically created for undead. So every time he hits this thing, it's not doing any damage to Benny. It's hitting, and as fast as it's damaging him, he's being healed. So kind of sitting there like, oh crap, now what do I do?
Now, if only someone had taught the legendary game designer that you're not supposed to split the party.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that kind of boggled my mind. It was. You would think with his experience, he would know a thing or two about fighting, werewolves. As far as rules go, I mean, there's not a whole lot of variation. Silver weapons. I think I've seen in some cases magic weapons. Fine. Well, whatever he was doing, and the paladin priest was doing, wasn't doing jack. So
and why was he running in the wrong direction?
That
he was
I need
running
to-
away from the party.
I have a suspicion that when Walt explained to him grenades, it flustered him, and he just didn't quite know what to do.
Okay.
It was that was kind of interesting.
I mean,
it's like Nick and Walt broke his mind.
Yeah, I mean, if he could have gotten outside into some of the the other mages and other members of the party,
well, that's the thing, is that he would have
been a
immediately had
chance.
backup. If he'd just run the other way.
So I had
the
a
interesting thing. I was going to say real quick. The interesting thing about Jim Ward is you can actually see the history of his playstyle by reading Dragon magazine. And because he's talked about a lot about how he's played games, and actually like play by play recounted. They used to do that in the old Dragon magazine, recounted the games that he'd been in, and then I think we've had almost like probably 2 years now of playing games
Yeah.
with him and kind of seeing what his style is, and he is consistently not a team player. Like, but this is nothing new. Like, he's kind of always been this way. I read, so I was doing some research. I read a sort of Panzers versus Trolls game that he was in, and he did the same thing. Like, he was on a team with 2 other players, and they're like, okay, you be here and you do this, and we'll set up a crossfire here. And he just took off and did his own thing and saved the day. So, like, he's kind of a junkie gambler who walked into a casino once and spun the wheel of fortune and got $50, and he's been doing it ever since. And I think he got away with it at times and everything like that. But he doesn't like to work well with others, and he likes to create a lot of chaos. That seems fun to him, and it's just like, you know, like he always the entire time seemed to be at odds with the party and want to fight the party, like you know, not, you know, like doing whatever weird thing he was doing today with the mages, wanting to hang back. And then, like, clearly we're going out to battle a boss, and he made a big point of like, I'm not going to help. And the only thing I can say is, like, you know, having played Greyhawk with him, if any of us would have done that, he would have jumped on that person and taken advantage of it.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, he's a nice guy. I like him in a lot of ways, but and I've heard this from other people too. He likes to create a lot of chaos when he plays, and I think there's a certain momentum that allows him to get away with it. But he's not a team player, not by any. And he's a gamer too, like, as in, like, he thinks in gamer terms, and he just thinks, you know, like stat sheets. Like, I throw 3 grenades, and it's like,
It's not how it
anybody
works.
who's thrown a grenade in their life kind of knows how serious it is. Like, you put your hand on your grenade, I don't care how pro you are, there's a real pucker factor.
Oh, yeah.
You are not in Flux, like, doing cartwheels and going up the side of the wall and tossing, you know, like, shuriken grenades. That doesn't happen.
That's the
Like,
3 to 5 second fuse, and God help you.
Yeah, and if you're someone like me who used to pitch baseball, and you palm the thing, you palm the grenade, that's a bad thing in grenade throwing. And so you're really cognizant of it. It's something I think everybody always takes seriously. You are not popping 3 grenades, and, you know.
No.
So
But
as a
having
side-
said that, the most grenades I ever heard of being thrown at once was an entire crate.
So as a side note, in the chat, Meffit is going slightly crazy because he's saying, Ted, that he's going to need you to straighten up those pictures, please.
Yeah, I saw that.
Behind
And
you.
I made one a little more crooked. So.
That's awesome. He was like, so he starts laughing, and then he's like, chaotic evil confirmed. That's awesome.
To
So-
Nick's point.
Oh,
real
go ahead,
quick.
please. Yep.
To Nick's point, you know, always chaotic part and whatnot, but, you know, sometimes, no pun intended, the chaos bites you back. I mean,
Yeah.
There are repercussions. If you want to do ghetto chaotic shit, expect
A werewolf will bite you in
eventually.
half.
The question is does he roll a new character, or are we able to revive him again? I know Nick made some promises and basically sold his soul to Black Betty or whatever her name was to get him the first time.
Yeah, I think I've enjoyed James's time. I think we're too much of a drain on him. I think he's got a lot of work to do and stuff like that. Plus, I want to kind of rotate in now some of the people who are playing Forgotten Ruin and, you know, kind of, you know, active in the actual game itself. And I think next month we're going to be transitioning to a new day or a new evening. So kind of time to shake things up. I've enjoyed James's time, but in a certain way, his play style I don't think is conducive.
And he owes JR some chapters.
Yeah. So we will say,
maybe-
I would love to have him back as a guest or stuff like that, but, like, a lot of the things he does actually, like, bogs down the party's progress.
My feeling, if this wasn't supposed to be a group of military personnel, it'd be one thing, but it is, and when you're going off acting like that, doing the stuff he's doing, it's like,
Yeah.
I can't imagine how it makes you guys feel, because I know how it makes me feel. It's like, he shouldn't be doing that. He's trained
Yeah.
better than that.
I know. know I like James. I think he's a really great guy.
I
Just
do. He
different play
reminds me of my
style.
dad. I
Yeah.
love my dad, but my dad drives me insane too. So
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and he just comes from, I mean, maybe that's how they played at Gary's game, or I mean, I do think there was a lot of infighting between their players. I think they were always kind of constantly trying to screw each other, but
I still,
we don't have those kind of, like, we only have like 2.5 hours. We don't have like,
yeah.
I think they would play for like 20 hours on the average weekend.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's
we don't have that
insane.
kind of time. Yeah.
You know, I do regret not getting having the chance to ask him if they already did crap on swords back in the day, because I'm morbidly curious about that.
No, he said they did. He was pretty blunt. That's how you you.
Well, I
will
will hear about it. I want to hear the story about this because I'm a horrible human being.
I don't know what's there to hear. He poops. There's a sword. He rubs it on the sword. He showed you what they did.
But who came up with this brilliant?
They
strategy?
like. I mean, the playing with James. Like, I mean, like that's why I think I originally wanted to play original Greyhawk. They did a lot of really crazy outside the box stuff, but that really came from logic and common sense and mythology and things like that. I mean, like if you go back and listen to the podcast and listen to Andrew and stuff like that, I mean, they played D&D on a whole other level. But it was a little weird and power gamery.
I mean, I think the rationale behind the pooping on the sword thing was because the sword was supposed to be offended or something. I forget what the situation was, but
he thought it was an intelligent sword.
Yeah,
but even if it's an intelligent sword, like they get routinely stab people in the guts, and if you've seen what happens to a body at the end, I don't think that would have done anything. It would have been like, sweet, we got another one.
Yeah.
Imagine if he'd done that to Clokey.
Oh God. Use it like toilet paper.
Oh my God, that'd have been
Although
awful.
James talking the numbers on like his XP and stuff made me realize what a glass cannon my character is. Like I'm at 19 hit points, and he's like, "Oh, I got 40 something."
Well, you had what, 15?
I had 11 on my first.
And that's the other thing too. He was rolling really high, and I'm also suspect of kind of his character, because like when we started the original game for Forgotten Ruin, I went onto a character generator, and I generated your characters. I did them all in a row, and took it all down and said, "Here, you guys, this is what you guys asked for, so this is what we have." So like you guys aren't running around with 18s in your major stats, and
no, but he has 18 in his major stat, and I'm like,
right.
I thought we specifically talked about like actually just taking the rolls, because Rock Powers has horrible stats.
Yeah. Well, yours aren't really horrible. Yours are average.
Normal.
Because in between 10 and 12 would be like an average human being.
Yeah.
You start getting over 13. I mean, like a fighter with a 13 or 14 strength is in really good shape. A fighter with a 15 strength, where you start getting like XP bonuses and stuff like that, you're talking like major CrossFit athletes.
Yeah.
Gladiators.
Philosophy is that your character should have 2 18s and 1 in your primary stat and 1 in something else you want. Like, I mean, we've made characters with him in other games, and he insists on that. That's the only, like, it's just kind of weird. They want every character to be exceptional, and that's like, that's kind of no fun. I mean, like, that's
not how life works.
I mean, like, it's just very superhero thinking, like.
Well, all right, so I'll defend that, because to some extent, if you think about the world as a whole, most of the world are farmers and not fighters, not gonna adventure at all ever, and it's only the jocks and the elite, intellects that are gonna go for the wizardry and fightery type stuff. So you can imagine that those adventurer types may have better than average.
Oh
you can make that argument, and it's a good argument, and it's a classic fantasy argument, but
it doesn't have to be crazy.
To that point,
but I'm just saying,
rangers that have been tasked specifically to take care of this mission. I mean, you're not taking grunts right out of boot. You're taking guys that have trained hard and done some really tough courses in some really tough schools. You have that stuff. I don't know if there's Delta, troping around, but SEALs, and I mean, it's not the chumps.
But we were Air Force. Our guys were Air Force.
All these guys are Air Force.
That's why my strength is a 9.
Yeah. Well then,
yeah.
It's weird because I'm a druid and my best stat is my Constitution, which is 16. Yeah.
But the druids that's their stat. Druids' stats are Constitution and Wisdom. But if I'm correct.
I did okay. I think I've got a 16 in my attribute, a 15 and a 14 and Dex and Con, and then everything else are crap.
Yeah,
if you go back though and look at the original D&D stats and the early D&D stuff, like you look at like War Duke stats, or you go in and look at the stats inside the Rogues Gallery and stuff like that. Most of those characters had like, the evil priestess had like a 12 wisdom.
Yep.
It's
the original, the old stuff.
Yeah, but we've fallen into this thing where like your character's your superhero, and he has to start off this thing, and that's fine, everything like that. But how much more fun is it if your stats are kind of weak and you're not a stud?
And that's the other thing too. Like, let's look at the major heroes when we think of like, let's look at the real pirate that everybody loves, Han Solo. You can't tell me that his dexterity was normally so high that, or that his intelligence was so high. He had luck on his side. He was a lucky dude.
Think of the Medal of Honor winners and stuff. None of them look particularly impressive.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Not until modern history, when most of the people that got up until Korea, most of those people they would have been skinnier than the average American now. But as it goes, like they weren't PT studs. They just were.
It's like the guy, my dad and the guys he served in Vietnam. They were a bunch of kids, and they were doing extraordinary stuff. I mean, you don't. That's. I could go on a rant about the superhero culture. You don't have to be a superhero to be a superhero kind of thing. You don't need superpowers because average guys, women can do extraordinary things.
But it's funny, we live in a culture now where a lot of people, especially kind of the superhero worshiping culture, especially on the left, like you look at a lot of the soy boys and betas, and they're not those things. But I do think with sort of the movement towards transhumanism that we're in right now, the vaccine being the first step in that, they're and body hacking and things like that. They are convincing people that sort of like you can become a superhero. You can get yourself you can go onto this insane keto diet and hurt your body, and you can have an 1800 strength. Well, maybe not 1800, but you could have a 16. And then you look at guys that juice and stuff like that. Juicing is becoming much more safe and much more acceptable. Okay, so then you go over to the wisdom stats and you look at the people who are doing DMT and ayahuasca, and, or just constantly doing these sort of online courses. You can say, oh, I have an 18 wisdom now. Well, all these things are false. Like, you can CrossFit all you want, and you can be a stud in the gym. But if you've never humped a combat load in mock gear for 18 miles, you're weak.
You give me flashbacks. Stop.
You're missing the point here. I identify as
Ted Lehman causing trouble.
Oh boy!
You're just like when I was in a hardcore infantry unit, and our battalion commander was, and I kind of like I based Tyrus Rex on him sometimes. He was a completely average, ordinary, maybe 42-year-old man. And he chain smoked 2 packs of Durals every day. Dural is an awful cigarette. And he could run your ass into the ground. And we had Rangers, we had SF, we had like guys who, airborne, every it was like a good infantry unit with a lot of people who could PT like studs. And this dude could run you into the ground because he was one of the smartest people in the military. I think he ended up teaching at West Point, and he had a doctorate in sociology, and he knew that everything was mind over matter. Like, if he just decided he was going to run you into the ground, he was going to run you into the ground.
There wasn't a damn thing you could do about it.
Yeah, 2 packs of smokes, not a stud, not the squat king, none of those things. But his mind said, we'll pass the battalion headquarters again and see how many we fall out.
I love those guys.
we had a first sergeant like that. He was so bow-legged and broken from all of his years jumping out of perfectly good airplanes that he couldn't walk right. But on a run, he could freaking lap people half his age.
Yeah, because they just figured it out a long time ago that it is pretty much all mental, But young men don't understand that, so that's the advantage they have. But it's just there are things. D&D is fun, but like how much fun? Okay, so play the D&D game of your dreams. Give yourself all 18s. What is there to achieve? Nothing. That's why I think 5th edition is such a letdown, because didn't they move the stats up into the 20s? And every character has to have at least one godlike stat, and then people kind of write their insane backgrounds, and they're either demon lords or the child of a god, or these kind of things. It's like, what is there to achieve? Whereas if you take a murder hobo or a group of adventurers, these are people that are making their living doing these are the plumbers of the world. They go do what the civilization doesn't want to do. They hire these scumbags to go do it, and then they go do it. These guys probably have a horrible diet. They're probably some form of addiction. They're psychologically damaged by the things that they've seen. They probably spend like drunken sailors. These are not healthy people. These are not wise people. Wise people wouldn't go down and fight drow. A wise person would stay home.
Yeah, think about it. This is no different than the author gig, where your MC better not be the perfect everything and all 18 stats equivalent, because then there's really nothing for him to achieve, just like you said.
But every writer writes that.
No, that's like the
right than Mary Sue than the guy whose face is just cut to shreds.
That's the ultimate beginner's mistake, is because they think it's cool. This guy's awesome. He's got this, he's got that, and and they don't write the flaws in. They don't write the problems. It's like I've got an MC who's pretty awesome at a lot of things, but the one thing that he's supposed to do, some magic thing, he has utterly no control over it. He needs someone else to help him control it. And it's like, and it's just like, you need an Achilles heel, something that makes you kind of fucked up, but it's okay. Yeah.
But speaking of speaking of extraordinary, though, dear Lord, how about that guy right there?
Hey.
Oh. That is a handsome fella.
That is a handsome fella, right?
Is it me? I can't say. Is it me?
No, it was Balder. It was
okay.
Balder.
Balder came down here and was holding me against my will to kill James Ward today. It was all his action.
How about all this incredible leather work done by Ted? Holy crap.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you go about doing the map and everything else? Like, what's the process in doing that?
I meticulously sit with a little chisel and poke a keyboard to tell a laser to go along this thing and just burn it out. No, the map is done on a laser that you just plug it into the software and set it to run. Maps tend to take quite a bit of time to do, but I buy all the leather just as a natural hide. I dye all the leather, and then on all of the stuff that I've got for Forgotten Ruin right now, I'm just lasing it in. I'm gonna get some stamps. Stamps tend to make a nicer finished product, but these were the prototypes that I sent out to Nick and Jason, just to kind of say, hey, this is what I can do. Do you have any use for this type of nudge? So I'm really happy with how these things are turning out, and I can't wait to refine them with the stamps. The maps, those are kind of slave to the lasing process, though, just because of the size that they are. But
well, and it would take you about 3 years to actually do it by hand. So.
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah. And only Nick and Jason could afford those then.
And I think we
did those in the Boy Scouts. I'm sure we could do it.
Jason told me we were talking about maybe doing something special edition for GE.
Oh, nice.
Jason was saying what? I'm sorry.
He was saying you and him were talking about maybe something special edition for GE.
Yeah. So with what I've been talking with him, we're working on a license agreement that will cover both Forgotten Ruin and the GE line. So look for cool things to come on both these.
So basically, hand tooled leather ranger panties.
Oh God,
Oh,
that would smell like
yeah.
like the inside of that mercenary's helmet today. Bacon and
Oh.
regret.
Make up your mind. First you say we're not getting ranger panties. Now you say we're getting leather ranger panties.
Hand tooled leather ranger panties.
Hand tooled. That's right.
He said he doesn't wear underwear. He never said he doesn't wear panties.
Little ball cradle.
I don't wear underwear, man. Some SF guy said we don't wear underwear and we don't wear socks, and I said game on.
Socks are the dangerous one not to wear.
But you could wear ranger panties as pants.
Aw.
I don't know.
Just saying you could. If we had them.
But yeah. Some of that leather work, man, is like absolutely insane. Good, great stuff.
Thank you.
So, what's that?
I really enjoy it. It's a passion for me. It's a labor of love for sure.
So you said
we'll have to get a leather map of this area.
Oh, of the Shattered Sea too.
Yeah.
Oh, I have it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. But yeah, you were saying earlier today during the stream that during the game that you initially got a lot of these skills coming out of the riggers. Are you happy that you don't have to? Are you happy that you don't have to jump all these leather goods that you cut yourself?
The jumps were great. The landings sucked, man. But sewing the chutes is definitely a lot different than sewing up leather. Leather is a lot more forgiving. It's a lot more easy, manageable to work with. The ripstop nylon that we were, it just wanted to run everywhere. But the core skills that gave me are pertinent to this industry too. As a kid going in, I'm thinking, I can be a rigger. I can jump out of planes, and then I get to the sewing machine. I'm like, what the hell is this? So I'm going to be a stitch bitch. This is awesome. It's like I never in a million years thought I'd be using a sewing machine outside of parachutes, and then you get into this, and it's like, man, this is cool. It's a really handy skill to have, and you get to make really cool things.
The best part of being in the Army in the late 80s is when you're driving that floor mopper, that buffer thing, and you have the buffer pad, and then you start whistling to yourself, be all that you can be in the Army today.
Yeah, that was, oh my God.
That was still the motto when I enlisted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Walt, send that to me. You have my email. Send that to me. I can spool that up for you.
Oh, that would be dope. Yeah, Shattered
If you
Sea.
have one with names on it too, that'd be.
Oh, we have a World Anvil page as well, where the map is actually interactive. So you can go in and plug all these different places, and it'll show you like different places that the characters have been.
But I assume anything you're doing leather needs to be a monochrome, based off of monochrome kind of bit mapping, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be interactive.
Well, no. I mean, it's like just two colors, either white or black. And the shading doesn't work very well.
Actually, the shading does work really well.
Interesting.
I'll show you another thing I'm doing. Hold on. I'll be right back after these messages.
So you guys. So when you guys captured the mercenary, what's that?
It looks like he's in our
Oh, he's rearranging his pictures again. So you guys recapture this mercenary, and Nick, you were kind of like, all right, yeah, I'll let you live. What was your thinking behind that?
My thinking is that if someone's willing to be useful, I'm willing to use them.
Right on. And he was like, look, dude, I'm a mercenary. I have no allegiance. Just pay me, and if the payment is my life, then.
See, I'm in this, like, and maybe it's because where I'm at right now, like with the whole like geopolitical situation. But I would love some like just refreshing honesty like that. I'd love for somebody to just say, like, listen, pay me money and I'm good. But like we've entered this weird thing in our society now where like everybody has to say, oh no, I am screwing society for the greater good. Both sides, and everything like that. And it's really like, no, you just want to get rich. You just want to do this thing with all of us. And so like, I don't know, that just appealed to me when he said, you know what, I'm just in it for the money. I'm like, I can understand that. I often too am just in it for the money.
But that's a dual-edged sword. Yeah. So I'd also just realize that I would absolutely use him as well, but I'd absolutely get rid of him as soon as it was convenient because I know he'd sell me out too.
Yeah, you never can tell. You can turn people into true believers. Like you can convert. Sometimes people are just that way because they've never had good leadership. Sometimes people are just that way. Like I don't know. I was willing to test and see, but Clokey didn't want to.
Clokey had other plans.
Yeah. So when he's, go ahead, please.
That's
wow.
Oh wow.
That's focusing.
Wow.
So yeah, that's it picks up grayscales really well. That's not focusing very well, but
nice though. Very
on leather, really.
Yeah. So
wow.
It's a pretty versatile machine with what I'm able to do, which is kind of nice.
This picture
I love the background.
I do too. I'm as entertained as you are.
That was like what the hotel pictures in JR and Siska's room look like.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Because you got to get on it and you got to ride it. You got to ride it hard.
Does she watch these?
I hope not.
I'll have to go IM her and say she has to especially watch the AARs.
Trump said that one time in a briefing. He was talking about like the medications, or he was talking about something, and Nicole and I are watching. And he's all, "You just got to get on it, and you got to get on it, and you got to ride it hard." And I said, 75% he's trolling everybody with that sentence. But that was the theme for the weekend, right, JR? Siska.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
I would love to be the fly on the wall with those conversations after she listens to some of these shows and is like, because is she listening to any of these shows?
Yeah,
I'll make sure.
Some. I don't know if she listens to everyone.
She loved it. She came on and she played. She was a great player.
Oh yeah, she was. She was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Do you need me to clip the Cisco moments and send them to her?
Yeah. Well, actually, we should replay this live
on the hard
for
drive
her.
of his heart.
Yeah,
Is your
invite her
ex-wife
to a
jealous
game
of
again.
Siska? Is your ex-wife jealous of Siska yet?
No.
So you guys make it to the interior of the island. You finally exit that little tunnel, right? The weird thing,
Like JR the other day.
No, he was entering the tunnel.
Exit the tunnel.
So, but you guys exit the tunnel and then come out into that huge like that temple area. The first kind of snag in what was going on was that Benny stays behind. So what were your thoughts when he was like, "No, I'm going to stay in the hole"?
Well, I mean, he was suspicious the entire time because he kept saying stuff about the wizards, the mages, and like he was up to something. So I don't know what he was up to, but you know, I mean, he's made it clear that he wants to kill me, right? He said that like several times. So, you know, I don't know if he was
And
always kind of waiting.
He's also always doing his own thing. So
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't unusual. I know, I just assumed he was trying to raise the thing that the cloak had killed just to be contrarian.
Yeah,
I don't know if he had a larger plan.
See, I fully like when the werewolf came out. I actually fully expected that was the cloak in disguise or something coming to attack. You know, and knew what Benny had done, raising the thing that it had killed. So I until I realized it was a werewolf, I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah, you
I
guys
thought it was the undead brother for a second.
Well, you guys enter, and you get the one brother that's there, and he's looking like he's kind of guarding this temple. There's broken undead everywhere because your admiral had shelled the beach. But yet, Rock Powers comes right up and is like immediately like, let's do this, but then presents like my most valuable gift. At first, I thought you were going to try and like do the Rock Powers thing and win him over and then try something sneaky. But you weren't trying to win him over. You were just trying to be like, here, hold this. And hopefully my cloak will protect me.
I don't know why I had it in my head. I know guys used to light C4 and play catch with it.
Yeah, that's a very common misconception, and I don't know how many arguments I have to have with people who like no, that's not the way it works.
What is the explosive that it's heat and pressure that detonates?
Yeah, it's not the plastique, it's not C4. I mean, nitro is very sensitive, but that's not something you would ever see in the military.
No, there's a moldable explosive that responds to heat and pressure.
Well, you're talking about they use it for breaching doors and stuff. It's like almost like a tape, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's detonation cord.
Well, that cord you like kind of the same thing.
Yeah, it's more plastic explosive.
I just figured if this dude had flaming hands and he squeezed this thing.
Oh, I knew something was up because you were like, yeah, is this guy's hands on fire? I'm like, yeah, well, he's also holding a weapon. Oh, okay, but his hands are on fire, right? I'm like, oh boy, here it comes.
Something's coming.
Oh my god. But yeah, we also saw the death of Matt Damon today.
Oh,
the skeletal.
Not a dead
we can't knit him back together and put that ring
Well,
on his finger. And
yeah, we probably have like a dust shovel kind of thing, and scoop them up and put them together.
Oh my god!
I think the mage is kind of half dead too, isn't she? Didn't she kind of get?
She got messed up.
The Karen one.
Yeah, the Magic Karen. Yeah, she was.
But that was from the explosive, right?
Yeah, the explosive caught her.
I was tempted to maul her just because.
But then, what do you call it? You guys set off that trap, and you're just like, look, we're not going to trade hand to hand with you. And Rock Powers was like, we're just going to do this, and. He saves himself with a cloak. He saves Crowley. Samson came in there with like gusto.
I love that.
He was just like, right as he sees the detonation brick grabbing this guy's hand, he's like, oh crap. But you managed to get behind him enough to save yourself so that you weren't completely eradicated by it. You're not going to be able to hear shit for the next month, but
what?
What? Anybody else heard that ringing?
Not service connected, right?
That's right.
I would assume that the cloak, which right now is actually with JR, because it said that I was too rough on it. I would assume that the cloak might think twice about riding with me.
Either that or it had such a great time, it's going to go for round 2.
Oh man!
That would remain to be seen. But that thing is now that you know what it is, like when you were getting revelations from that mercenary about what it was, what did you guys think of that?
Well, I thought it was supernatural, but then it clearly knew it clearly had a relationship with the other thing, and they knew what C4 was, and also thinks it's also given other hints that it knows where we came from and stuff like that. So I don't think it's demonic. I think it's some dude.
Yeah.
Right.
Just got trapped in the item.
Might have superpowers or whatever, but it when I handed the C4 and it said it knows what that is,
Yeah. So kind of like the Delta Kings in a sense,
right?
Which and upcoming novel series for Forgotten Ruin, right, Nick?
So they say.
Now, if this was the lesser brother, I'm kind of wondering what's the deal with the other brother.
So the thing is too that you guys already handled one threat on the island, which was there was a group of like really militant ghouls that had one section of the island, and they were vying for control with these Lords of Fang and Fog, which were these like serpentine skeletal warriors. But you have one faction left. And I'm kind of interested in seeing what you're going to do with it. Like, because you got the Sisters Siren, which are the ones who are technically responsible for all the shipwrecks on this island, causing the majority of all the undead. It'd be interesting to see if how you're going to go deal with them.
I guess the question is what's making them
we
undead?
Yeah, those are two valid questions.
Undead protect the island, right? So why not leave them once we're safe and we got the island otherwise under control?
Right. Plus, in the
and then Crowley has company.
True. Plus, on the western side of the island, you had those people who were kind of like undead. They were guardians of the undead. They kind of worship them and can control them a little bit. You saw those elves that you made contact with a few sessions ago, but then after the bomb goes off and basically obliterates that first brother, almost killing Samson in the process, destroying Matt Damon, killing Magic Karen. We shift focus to Benny in the hallway, recovering that ghoul, and he comes. He's using that undead ring, and he's coming back to life, and he's profusely thanking Benny.
That was the funniest part because at first James was so blasé about it. He was so like, "Oh no, thanks," and he seemed to be like, "Haha, I'm sowing discord for the cloak, and that's going to be a problem." And then when the thing said, "Oh, I have to give you something," that's when James got interested, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to get something out of this," and then you immediately took it away. That was intense.
Yeah, that
I was laughing.
Bren came in and was just like a wrecking ball. Because that thing only had a couple of hit points that had been recovered, bringing it back to health.
He ran in, saw that thing's head, and thought, "Ball!"
But
I think James knew he was in trouble too immediately. I think he didn't think you would make him pay for separating from the party.
He had the same reaction as every human being who has ever turned around and seen a fur missile coming at him. Oh shit!
But the thing is, it would have gone a lot differently had
you run the other way.
Yeah, he exited the tunnel back to where all of his friends were.
I mean, it's just retarded.
I didn't understand his thought process. I mean, he's sitting there, stab. It's having no little effect, and you're getting the shit beat out of you. Adapt or die.
So, but yeah, here comes this 9 foot tall, nasty engine of destruction. And that's the cool thing about how we worked the Forgotten Ruin role playing game. I mean, yeah, it's based off old D&D, but you have a core section of abilities, and that's the other thing too, Nick. I got to go over with you because you during the game, it was totally cool because you were using all of these new duelist abilities, right? But you get one of them.
Oh.
Where'd yours go? Rock powers duelist, right? So like you were totally rocking some of those abilities, like the one you use, the detect weakness, the appraise
Right.
weapon quality and stuff like that, right? So the initial things that the duelist can do was under the class description on the first page. That second page, right?
Oh.
So
That's Max.
yeah. So so the way it works, right, is and we wanted to reflect the ability of a military person, whether he be just a standard military guy or an advanced operator. In the military, you're always going to schools. You're always advancing your career. You're always getting new skills and techniques and tactics and tips. And we wanted to kind of reflect that in the game. So, like from level 1 to 5, you have this core set of stuff that you do. And then at levels 5, typically levels 5, 7, and either 9 or 10, you get advances. You get things that you can select that bring kind of like new flavor to the class. So like if you have a duelist, like Nick has a duelist and then JR has a duelist, at level 10, those duelists might have different focuses, but yeah, you were coming in and use, like when you use the sweep, that was dope. That was dope. Yeah. Using the shield of skill to what do you call it? Keep the defense at bay, so you could unveil that charge brick. But that was pretty dope. And then, with some of those abilities, if Benny had run back to you, by the time you recovered from getting right, standing at ground zero, you could have dealt with the right weapon severe damage to Villanueva, and he wouldn't have been able to touch you. But like,
so
yeah,
I still got one charge brick left. Hey.
And 5 grenades off Benny's corpse. So
I have 20 grenades. You're like, no one in the history of hardcore extreme has ever had 20 grenades.
Yeah.
I actually thought when you did the debt brick and Samson was still going through his motion, because he didn't know what Nick was going to do, so he and I were both getting in position. I'm like, oh shit, he's a one-time guest, so Walt's going to kill him gloriously. I thought that's what you were setting up.
No, I don't think Samson Ted Lehman should be a one-time guest. Ted, can you come back? Like,
yeah,
just lost Benny.
That's great.
You're in, man.
Yeah, I'm only mostly dead. I mean,
what?
You're not dead. You just wish you were with that pounding head.
And Princess Bride.
I mean, those are some bragging rights to take a C4 brick to the face and be like, walk away from it.
Right.
That's what
you had a weird brother in between, so yeah, a little buffer.
Yeah, we don't talk about that guy.
Yeah.
So his new call sign is going to be Brick, apparently, because he took the debt brick to the face.
It will be
also because he shit one once he saw it happen.
Now, it will be interesting to see if that brother had any loot on him, or if there's anything left of him.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
I updated.
Go ahead.
I updated the document
brick
with
would
everything
make
that we
a
said.
crater.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There would be nothing left of that dude.
I hope you didn't have any good loot to take.
Yeah, you guys.
I updated that.
Go ahead, JR.
Go ahead, Walt.
No, go ahead.
I updated the sheet, and then I pulled it off, just the loot I'm tracking for the party, our magic items, and our captured goods. Most of that is actually on the ship. So the first chance we get to a port of call, we should sell that and upgrade people's kit. Although Nick has got the most magic items of anybody. He just collects them they're like magnets to him for some reason.
He's a treasure goblin.
But the other side,
yes.
The other side too is like when Nick is wearing nothing heavier than leather armor. A lot of those skills that he has now as a duelist are clear and up front. When he starts encumbering himself with heavier armor, he's not going to be able to use some of these skills.
Yeah.
So
skills are life.
And when
also,
I,
as the
Walt,
duelist,
cover your
there's
ears. I got to tell the
there's-
party.
as a duelist, there's an honor thing. You always have to fight at someone's level.
I was
If they have one sword, you can't fight with two swords.
Yep. I was like today when you guys were facing off with the mercenaries, she's coming up and she's like, all right, what are our terms? Let's talk about this because we're going to fight, but let's talk it out and discuss what we're willing to do and what we're not willing to do. And you're like, let's do this one-on-one.
And the
I was
druid
like,
screwed that up.
I was like, yeah, here we go. Now we're talking duelist stuff. Yeah, that was badass.
Then it went off the
Awesome.
rails.
And I think that's much more like I think how a lot of early warfare was. Like people they knew the cost of warfare. Like if you took a bad cut, you were probably going to die from that.
Oh yeah,
And
from
you look
infection
back
and
a
all
lot of
that.
the times, like that's how champions arose. They're like, hey, why don't we send out two guys and let them settle this for all of us, and we'll just all accept the results. But a lot of the times when two enemy groups met, the commanders, like that's where we get the whole white flag system and stuff like that. There was a lot that went on before a fight, and it's kind of, I think we've been able to kind of do that in this, and I think most people playing D&D kind of don't understand that it's all sort of like firefight, immediately everybody starts shooting each other, and that's not really, I think, how most of human history was. Like, people went out there and said, hey, this is our hill, and they're like, nope, it's ours now, we're going to take it. Well, we don't want you to take it. There would be these arguments back and forth, and then both the commanders would walk back and they'd say, here's the deal, what do you guys want to do, what do you want to accept? And you had to make your case to your men, and then you formed up battle lines and went after each other. Rarely do I think it was like instantaneous combat. I think people before these times,
Like it is
were a
today in
lot-
social media.
Yeah, like people counted, to I think Ted Lehman, you're a finished carpenter, right? You measured twice and cut once before you started doing shit.
Is that how it's supposed to work? Man, I
That's how
want so much more.
you've been measuring once and
That's
cutting
why I don't do
twice.
that anymore.
Hey Nick, we have a secret weapon for new loot though that we found out last week while you were away. That that magical coin I have. If I give it to you, it appears back in my pocket, so it's like the unlimited gold. We just can't let people know, or they're going to come after us.
It's like the
Like the
Federal
Fed,
Reserve.
right,
We have our printing press.
Hey, and we've got a dead gnome, so we can make a bag out of him. A gnome of holding.
Wow,
God.
that's dark.
Jared, you should take his skull and make something out of it. Make like a magic artifact.
I'll have to bring it back for you.
Chalice.
Oh
Yeah,
my god.
swallowed it.
Yeah,
You should put his little gnome skull on your magic user staff.
Can I keep it? No, Brent should keep it as a souvenir.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Weapon out of the
chew toy.
skull and call it the gnome skull.
What is it, Dad?
You can make a weapon out of the skull and call it the numbskull.
My favorite part was when he was sitting there sulking about being killed. And I said, hey, James M. Ward, who wrote Deities and Demigods, which gnomish god of death are you visiting right now? Neebelbunger or whatever it is.
Oh
my
shit,
God.
we've got the ghost sword now too. We could. That's perfect for Richardson or Crowley.
Oh, you're talking about his axe.
Yeah, his axe, not a sword.
And the thing is, too,
Casper's unfriendly sword.
like
Casper
Casper's
the unfriendly sword.
yeah. Casper's is an axe.
Unfriendly axe, that's right.
The thing is, like when I was rolling for those ghosts attacking him, they weren't doing a lot of damage because they only attack as regular warriors, and they weren't doing a lot of damage when they were hitting. But when they were, but most of the time I was missing. I'm like, damn, my dice suck right now.
I felt like I was being attacked by an army of Smurfs.
Right. But then it was funny because I was like, well, they're not really doing anything, so they're going to try and tackle him. But he's 9 feet tall, and they're mostly insubstantial.
Right.
So you're not really going to pin you to the ground.
That's what I love. James like, they have you pinned, and I'm standing outside of melee range. I'm a werewolf. They're tiny. You think they're gonna hold me down?
Well, not only that,
Well,
but you
speaking
know,
of werewolf,
substantial. They're announced.
Yeah. Like even if they
so this is a question for
go ahead, Jr.
I would say this is a question for both you, Walt, and Nick. But I understand in D&D, werewolf was always a curse. Is that how you're going to play it in the Forgotten Ruin, or is it going to be something that you can control, like in other properties, or what?
I was wondering about that.
So I went to we talked about Sparky and I talked about a little bit of this during the week, and he's like, I need to take my advance, and I was like, and he had talked about taking a ruined path versus advanced training. So and I, he was like, oh, we should do a werewolf, go ahead.
You know what the funny thing is, though? The reason I decided for a ruined path was after what Benny did to Michael. Like when he ripped him to death.
Bryce Michael Christopher.
I'm done with the Air Force. That's it. I'm going ruined. He made his own death. He really did. It just occurred to me.
So that's the thing. The dangerous part about him being a werewolf, right? Because like in D&D, werewolves are chaotic evil. They're malicious. When they hunt prey, they often torture them for long periods of time before they take them out. They're like the ultimate terrorist. So what happens is, because he has that as his ruined path, right now, because he's at level 5, he takes the ruined path of werewolf. Right now, everything's uncontrolled. So when he goes down to a certain level of damage, he has to make a saving throw. If he fails the saving throw, he turns. The problem is when he turns, he can either decide to attack the thing that's attacking him, or just say screw it and start mauling everybody. So you're kind of having it's kind of
a conscious decision, or is that a roll?
It's a roll.
Okay,
yeah. It's a roll. Yep. So in when he gets his next advance, if he takes the second advance for werewolf, he can start trying to control it. So so it's not so. But at that point, it's not until the third advance where you get really a lot more control over it. But in the second advance, you can kind of aim it a little bit. You might not necessarily attack party members, or you might go to the other side of the battlefield, so you're not in direct line of your allies. But in the first advance, it's a random thing. So if he fails that saving throw and turns,
it's on.
It's on. You guys really need to pay attention to if all of a sudden his armor starts falling off. And he starts going through a second stage of puberty at a very accelerated rate. It's time to make some space.
Hey JR, you might want to use that. You might want to use that belt collar thing as a control device. Tighter.
Actually, if we have any sedatives or something,
right,
we'll probably knock him out or something if we see him turning.
Yeah, and that's something when you guys go to get the forge, you can start making stuff like that. And also, the benefit is there is somebody who has recently joined your party who might know a thing or two about sedatives. So,
if they didn't die,
what?
We're not done clearing this place, so.
But yeah, so
we just carry a lot of gnomes with us.
The gnomes are going to be used to feed the beast when he comes.
I like that.
Throw another gnome.
He's got a taste for gnomes now. He might.
I don't want this Sparky stacks.
That's not
kill
right.
the party.
But yeah, so what I did was during that fight, I did I ran a tracker. So like at certain things would happen. So like he's safe in the tunnel when all this combat starts triggering Bren's first change. So Bren, is just like the explosion goes off. It basically decimates everybody, but he gets a scent of this ghoul recovering in his nostrils. So he goes after the ghoul, tears it up, blah blah blah. Right. So there's X number of rounds before the what do you call it? The kind of like the paladin dude, right? Because if you look at the map, that was, and I haven't changed anything on the map, right? But if we look at the map, Bren and that guy were right next to each other, right? When everybody got blown up and Bren got sick, right? So Bren ran by him because, I mean, basically the dude's covered in metal armor. You know, that's nothing to sink your teeth into. And he gets into the tunnel, right? So Big Templar dude is down on his ass after getting blown up. That's a good question, Great Babe Texas. I'll get to that in 1 second. So yeah, he goes into the tunnel, but the Templar dude was like, "Oh crap! We left that little guy in the tunnel. We gotta do something about that." So there was X number of rounds before he came in, and then there was one mage apprentice that was totally unhurt. He came in next. He had a bad day at the track. So yeah, but yeah, most of the
I was promoted as apprentice. Like I'm now like go higher on the totem pole.
I will take a gnome snack as an appreciation.
There's an opening.
I'm serious. We need to make a bag of a gnome bag of holding or something.
God.
But yeah, so
just make a Benny ragdoll for werewolf.
There you go.
Yes.
Ooh, can I make a gnome fetish? There's gotta be a way to make a gnome fetish out of him.
Oh my God, you guys.
So what did you guys think of the actual presentation of the werewolf, the ferocity, the
that was excellent.
That was
I really liked that I didn't actually know what the hell was going on the first round or two, because I was like, because in my head I really did have buried in, I thought it was the cloak or something, because Benny had done something bad. Like, why are you resurrecting this thing that the cloak wanted dead? You're gonna have to deal with some ramification from that, more than likely. And it happened exactly as the gnome was waking up, so I figured it was related to that. It wasn't. So
I thought it was because it was undead. I didn't realize werewolves were undead. I was thinking vampire.
Yeah. Werewolves are not werewolves are not undead. They're just cursed.
I thought somebody activated that bear armor.
Yeah.
And it was,
that's right.
The bear armor. And it just kind of went rage mode or something. That was my initial thought with that.
Yeah.
That was very cool, and I don't think I could have been happier for the way my ruined path activated, because that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and in answer to Grape Ape's question, he was like, "How long would you give for the transformation to take place?"
Yeah,
usually anywhere between 1 to 3 rounds. So you roll. I roll a d6 and take and just have it. So the last time he failed that saving throw, if he failed 2 saving throws in a row, his ruined path would activate during this game session. So he failed the second saving throw, and I'm like, oh, here we go. So then I roll a d6, and I got 2 rounds. So pretty much like because the actual fight with the dude, the big bad dude, like, it's been played up the whole time, and he's this force of nature in combat, and Nick is like, here, hold my Legos, and
well, it also did help
more
that
from that fight.
Those vials of water were very effective.
Yeah.
Highly corrosive to that guy.
Yeah, and that was due to you have the ruined path of like a druidic path, which you're embracing, and you purified that entire section of like sunken graveyard. So like that elemental spirit was like, here, take this water, and it'll help you against the undead, which was nice to see that come back into play.
Yep.
From other game.
And they didn't like my whiskey gift.
It was wine.
Walt, that
wine.
That is one real quick thing that we've all been curious about. What was the thing we missed in the tomb when we all failed the search checks?
But in the sunken graveyard last time,
You hinted you were going to tell us. You
could go back there and find out. It's still there.
We do have Nick now, who's pretty good at finding shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
and
that's where I'll
blowing
wake
stuff
up.
up.
And blowing
Yeah, well, you've
stuff
got 5 grenades to add to your inventory sheet once we loot James.
Oh, that was 20.
Ooh, I'm gonna make a grenade whip with
It's
my
20, it's
experience.
grenade whip. So did you see on your new character sheet, you still have the cockatrice whip?
I do.
It's on the
Yep.
ship, I thought.
Well, no,
Still got my
he's got
cock whip.
he's got the cockatrice corpse mounted to the head of the ship.
He could always take it off.
The mages, as like a kind of like a let's work together gift, fashioned a whip made out of some of the skin.
Oh,
Wow.
So now he's
that's
got
to get added to your sheet too.
Oh, it's already on his sheet.
And don't accidentally hit yourself.
No, I mean the
Don't roll a
magic,
1.
the magic loot sheet.
So yeah, he's Ted. Did you happen to watch the amazingness that was the cockatrice whip when it happened?
No, I haven't. I'll have to go back and check that out.
So Nick has a set of like DnD dice that they found in like an earlier game, and the dice that they found, when you roll certain groups of the dice together, act as like a deck of many things, but it never works out like you think it's going to.
Okay.
So they were rescuing. They had like built over a series of sessions a relationship with these like mermen. And these mermen had given them equipment to salvage where their forge is, but before they did that, they had located where their missing rangers were, and they were being held captive like underwater and stuff like that. So they go into this like slave market underwater where they're having an auction and auctioning off these United States Army Rangers. And you got all these like these fish people there that are like the bad guys, and there's this head like shaman, and he's calling for everybody's head, and Nick is like, I'm gonna roll a 20, and I'm like, well, what are you doing? He goes, no, you don't understand. I'm rolling a 20. I'm like, all right. So as you do that, and I rolled to see, because there's certain like criteria for using the dice, and he met the dice's criteria, and I'm like, yep, take a D6 out and tell me what you get. Now they're underwater, right? And they have magic items that help them breathe and stuff like that, right? So they're underwater. Nick drops the dice into the sand and tells me what he gets. And, everybody's thinking this huge sea creature is going to come out and like eat everybody. And he produces a cockatrice, right? So do you know what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he produces that stone rooster. The only problem is they're 60 feet underwater. This thing can't breathe.
Right.
It immediately drowns, and he just starts whacking people with it, turning them to stone. And the whole time he's yelling out, he's like, beware my cockatrice whip, and we're dying, losing it. Oh my God. It was episode 15.
Okay, I'll look into that one.
Count 7 magic items for Nick now.
Well, there's also a bunch of
That I
magic
know of.
items back on the boat that you guys aren't, haven't messed with. I know nobody, because there's still, I think, 4 of those fang shields on the boat, and the only one who's still actively carrying one is
Crowley.
No, Crowley's not carrying one.
He's got the obsidian blade that never heals.
Yep, but dagger number 5, the only remaining.
He's not dead yet.
No, he's still alive. Dagger
That's
number
his new
5.
nickname, number 5.
Number 5 is still alive.
Yep. But remember, if I have 7 magic items, remember, just think about every session. I do a lot of crazy stuff. Like a lot of times, like when we put Crowley up there, we're like, "What do you do?" And he's like, "Well, I kind of don't do anything. I just want to see what happens." And like a lot of you will kind of hang back a little bit because you're a little gun shy, and I just like at the last battle today, I just ran in and charged that dude. I picked the duel and things like that. Like I think you have a tendency to acquire more when you do more. That's one of the things that like players in D&D can fall into a trap of, is like they really want to protect their characters, and like we had that problem early on with James and Greyhawk. Remember, we just like everything was so enigmatic and hard, we just ended up running away from everything or like bypassing. Well, you'll go broke doing that.
I think part of it is you're such a character when you play that some of us just sit back and watch the show. I think half of the people come to see what crazy shit you're going to do next. So like you're the main act, and we're just the core.
I try to hang back sometimes, but like it is a show, and so I'll just step forward and do something kind of wild because I want everybody to have that experience.
Now that's the guy we need to do a guest appearance. He's gonna hate me for that, but
he wants to come as a lawyer to go after Benny, but Benny's dead. So
yeah.
No, we can put him on trial in hell.
That would actually be awesome.
Trial in hell.
Let's tell James.
Open a portal.
Well, all the attorneys are in hell anyway, so might as well.
Oh, this would be badass. Let's have James show up next week, and then let's make him go to hell. And then, like, let's put him on trial for all the shit that he did, like beating Michael Christopher to death. Yeah, just pull out DDs and demigods and just like ruin his day, and then send him to like the plane of brass.
And Bear could play a lawyer. I promise you. He played one on TV.
Wow. It was definitely. I see what you mean, Nick. Yesterday there was just four. Or last week there were just four of us. Yeah. And man, the play was so different because everybody got to do a little bit of something.
Yeah.
It was a lot different. I see what you mean about that.
Yeah.
When you have a big
and
table,
that's why, like, when letting James go, it just kind of gives everybody a little more to do. Like, if you die, probably step away. Like, if I die, probably step away for a little while and let people play, and But if we just keep adding people, no one's going to get to do anything.
Yeah.
And that's something I've noticed. When even some of the higher level monsters we have fought, by the time we go through an entire turn, and if everybody's rolled well, that monster's jacked up. They last maybe 1-2 full turns, and it's over. So I'm like, with my spear gun, I'm at the end of the pecking order, and I'm like, it's dead. Which is cool. I mean, I had my shining moments, and
now, having said that, Larry Correa just ran like a 17% Savage Worlds game over
in his castle on the mountains.
Well, that's the other.
While having a 3-day gun class.
Yep, and that's the thing too. Like Savage Worlds is one of those games that you can tailor to make it very, very fast. The other side of it too is that instead of for expediency, we're rolling a group initiative. Right. And then I usually just go clockwise around how everybody is arranged in my feed on the stream. So I just write it down in order, and you guys get the you get the order that you came in. So that way it just makes it's rather than going through and being everybody an individual initiative and writing it all down in the different orders.
What I do too.
Savage Worlds, their initiative is a card mechanic. So you draw cards, and the person with the highest hand and suit and so forth and so on is going to go first.
But I think the way he broke it down though is that he broke it up into like teams of 3 with a captain on each one, and so internal to the little team, you did all your stuff. Then the actual turn went across all the captains to represent whatever they did. So it made sense that how you can smooth that kind of process.
Could you imagine though playing original D&D where you're like advanced D&D, where you're factoring in everybody's dexterity bonus and their weapon speed
and casting speed and all that stuff. Brutal.
I mean, those games are fun. You should probably play those with no more than 6 people. And it should be like you are in a dedicated hardcore purist group that wants to play at that level. But with the 2.5 hours once a week, that's not a good choice.
Right.
How many people actually played it that way, and how many people fudged the numbers there and fudged the numbers with the weight and the movement times?
I never played with weapon speed, but we did play with like dexterity and casting time back in the day.
Yeah, weapon speed was rare. I played a couple of games with weapon speed in the army, and usually after the second or third game, you were like, "Man, this is a lot of bookkeeping." Yeah, usually weapon speed went out the window. Casting time would sometimes get you, especially with more involved spells.
And there's also a limited number of casters anyway, so it's less effect.
Yep.
Well, the weapon would hit everybody though, pretty much.
Yeah, but then like I said, when we were designing the Forgotten Ruin game, it's mostly based right on white box D&D. We could have done the Super 6 system, which we're using for Galaxy's Edge, which is very fast and very fluid. But we would have lost that nostalgia that is very clear and present in the Forgotten Ruin books, because the character of Kennedy is like, well, look, in D&D, and it's constantly mentioned in the books. So we wanted to maintain that flavor with that kind of a game for Forgotten Ruin.
Do you ever play any kind of
And Nick,
game
if you
that had plotted movement?
I'm sorry?
Did you ever play any kind of game that had plotted movement?
Can you explain?
Well, like
what it is?
Starfleet Battles would have plotted. You can play plotted movement games where you had to write down like everything that was going to happen at the beginning of the turn, and then on the impulses that it would happen. There's a game called Submarine, which was like World War II destroyers versus German submarines. That was something that we did. There's a gladiator game where you had to plot your movement. That game was brutal and hilariously fun. Because it was just like you went into an arena, one guy had a trident, one guy had a net, and then you had to plot out what you did and you just watched this like bloodbath unfold. But like Starfleet Battles with plotted movement, it took forever. It was interesting. It was more of a chess game.
Yeah, and those games when you're kind of declaring your actions ahead of time, a lot of times things you would declare and get stuff ready that would never come to pass because an enemy would fall before you got there.
Yeah. And I think originally, like how D&D was originally taught to be played was everybody at the beginning of the turn declared what they were going to do.
Yep.
I am going to attack. Like there was no like, it's evolved now to like you react in real time to each event that happens. But like how it was initially is everybody at the beginning of the round declared what they were going to do. For better or for worse.
Do you have a preference?
It's probably better. Like it's probably more. And I mean, like I think with someone like Walt, who's a great storyteller, declaring movement at the beginning would actually be pretty funny because it allows him to sort of like process the entire battle and then unfold it cinematically. Probably just for like the fun of real time, the way that you play it is how it is. But it could, I don't know, it could be an interesting experiment. Just make everybody declare what they're going to do at the beginning of a round, and then let the DM adjudicate what happens.
Be interesting.
Yeah,
it'd definitely be interesting.
So with the Forgotten Ruin, because I listen and don't read most of the time, I'm behind because the audiobook, because Audible hates us. But I just want you to know if you kill Kennedy.
Because I know. Yeah, if I killed Kennedy, I killed Kennedy. I'm sorry. No, I didn't kill Kennedy.
Don't listen to
if you do, I'm just telling you that Hitman I'm sending after Rothman is going to come after you too.
Talker writes at great length about the death of Kennedy. It is so sad.
Gotta be that guy.
You know that, Sparky?
Yeah.
How many times does he mention coffee though?
Well, what's weird about Kennedy and Talker is that when Kennedy dies, Talker goes through his stuff and he finds like Kennedy's pictures of his girlfriend, Siska. The elf girl. And
what's her name? Autumn?
No, Siska, the elf girl. And Talker consoles her in quotation marks.
First there's Dolores.
And he consoles the hell out of her.
Bastard.
Oh my god.
I'm broken.
You're not getting screwed by Audible. We're getting screwed by Findaway, who is producing this for us and has the production is done. They just have to fix a couple of items, and we gave them a big talking to a week ago today, and they're like, and I fully expected like on Monday morning to get the files, and I talked to Jason today because I was busy all week, and I'm like, hey, where's those files? And he's like, they still haven't given them to us, and I'm like, really? I thought it was made clear.
See, I never went with Findaway. I got to the I was really annoyed by those guys. No.
All right, then. Thank you.
I mean, I just didn't care. You know, I had no visibility to what they were doing, and I'm like, and I'd heard.
Well, so far it's been a really good experience, but for some reason they kind of fell apart on book 2. And they've given us like a lot of reasons why, and everybody's reason why everything sucks right now is COVID, of course.
Yeah.
But I figured I should have the files this week, and I don't have them, and everybody's screaming about book 2, and they're already working on book 3. So I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
Well, and even when you get the files, though, it's gonna. Oh well, you guys also sell it independently, above and beyond the distribution. So
yeah, but we've got to like. I think we've already like QC'd the files, like. We've already uploaded the files on Audible, so like all we have to do is swap in a couple, and we also have.
Are you sure the files aren't stuck in some shipping crate in some like Chinese port?
Probably could be.
I mean, because COVID has affected that too. You know,
COVID.
You know what?
COVID is the excuse. I even use COVID for shit. Like
COVID killed Big Benny.
Yeah. But it's ready to go. Like it could be up next week, and I'd be really happy because everybody wants it.
Yeah,
I will say that's one thing you guys did that I liked. That when we pre-ordered it, we could get rather than wait, we could get the files from you.
Yeah, I think that's the cool way to go now that all of big tech is kind of being dicks now.
So the question is. When the audio goes up for book 3, seeing as Mr. Grant is such a great narrator, is it going to be hard to get a hold of him, or he knows where his bread's buttered with you guys?
I think he's locked in, but that was part of the call last week, is we were told like, oh, he's so busy now, and I'm like, well, I wonder how he got busy.
No shit.
Yeah, because he wasn't busy when I found him, and now he's busy. Okay. But that is one of the bummers about audio is like the way that I came up as an author in indie is that it was just you were doing it. It was just you and the customer. And then I knew there were going to be problems with the audio space when I started to see audiobook narrators become rock stars, and then of course start acting like rock stars. And so far I kind of like. I don't think I've done anything that I kind of haven't had problems in audio, not necessarily with the narrator, but there's one particular person I have had problems with, and it's cost me a lot of money. And it's just that it's the problem with narrators is you're adding another factor to the chain of you getting.
Whoop.
Lost him.
I hate when that happens.
He's probably out of juice.
Historically, or the man has silenced him.
So since it's just us now, Ted, you take PayPal, right? I can send for one of those those notebook covers. So where do you guys think you're going to go next week? What is the target of opportunity next week?
I don't know.
We'll look for the Rolodex to see what the address is for the brother. Is the brother around? I mean, is he still an issue? Or, I mean, you hinted that maybe we're done with this, but yeah.
Well, you know that, and you heard from whether Nick told you guys this or not, but the cloak was relieved when you exited the tunnel and it was just the one brother. Yeah. And even if the second brother wasn't there, that particular guy versus the other brother was still a relief.
There you go.
Just as much a relief as Nick coming back.
Yeah.
How long did I monologue for that you guys missed it?
No, I think it was quick
Caught
because
most of it.
you dropped about a minute ago, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
You
anyways,
weren't gone
narrators are kind of a problem.
Curious, does your narrator do his own file creation and editing and stuff? Because
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah,
We have
because
to have a studio hired for him and engineers to record it.
Okay.
And then it has to be edited. So.
Okay. Yeah.
And now I have another audio company who has figured out that I'm doing this, and they have now come in and booked up the time, and are trying to squeeze me out there. So
What?
I really hate publishing, and I really hate a lot of the people with publishing, because when you're successful, I'm not sitting here bragging, but obviously GD is successful, obviously Forgotten Road is successful.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody constantly watches what you're doing, and then they try to copy it, and they don't realize a lot of the time they're stealing. Like the first thing, like if you have a good cover artist, the first thing, and my cover artist calls me and like, hey, this author just called me up and wants to use me, and I'm like, yep, but you're booked with me. And so it's kind of like good form to go find your own cover artist, but I've never not failed to have someone go try to steal my cover artist. And now they're trying to steal my production facilities, and they always try to steal my narrators. And they did one time, and they really screwed me. So I really don't like other writers.
Well, let's
but I like all these writers.
Yeah, put it this way: I've gotten kind of spoiled, but just realize that this is a possibility. Like the narrator, I'm thrilled with the narrator I use for all my books in English, and the beauty is, and why I say I'm spoiled is, he actually has his own little editing studio at his home. He'll master the files, and he doesn't kill me on the price. And there's nobody in between. I can freelance directly with him as long as I'm paying the SAG rates and whatever. He's cool. So, which is nice because
it's a good way to go, but it's not everybody can do that.
Right. Not everybody's got their own facility. So so I've just never had to deal with an intermediary outside of Germany. I have to deal with that. Yeah. So, but yeah, dealing with a famous guy is like, it's sort of a pain.
Is that David Hasselhoff?
No, it's the who's this supposedly handsome U.S. actor? I forget his name now. Anyway, he's the voice of the famous actor that I can't remember the name of right now.
So apparently he's not that famous.
Oh no, he's like an A-list celebrity, but I'm just terrible with names, and I'll remember it later.
Matt Damon.
No.
Matt Damon.
No, known as like the handsome bachelor, but he recently got married a couple of years ago.
George Clooney.
You're not helping.
George Clooney. So he's the German voice of George Clooney. So he's very high in demand, evidently. So whatever.
So Nick, while you were away, we were wondering, where's the crew going after this? Are you going to go to the other side of the island? Or are you going to go after the forge?
I think we got to clear the other side of the island before we can recover the forge.
Well, I was wondering whether or not there's another brother that needs to be taken care of on this snake island or snake part of the world, but yeah, it's unclear if that's actually the case or not.
I'm wondering where I'm going to be next week. I assume I'm going to wake up in a puddle of vomit, feeling very, very bad.
That's basically Monday
naked.
Morning for JR.
Yeah. You know what'd be funny?
Especially after Cisco's done with them.
You know what'd be funny, Walt? If Brandon woke up like that, completely like the worst hangover ever, and he looks up and the ghost of Michael
Christopher or whatever.
Michael
Christopher standing over him like, thank you. And he's like, what happened?
He gets his piece and then he just leaves.
Yes, that'd be hilarious.
Oh my God.
Goes to the afterlife.
I think Benny is in gnome hell being sodomized by Michael Christopher. With a cockatrice.
Appearing on gnome hell version of Jerry Springer.
Oh my God.
Naked and afraid.
Yeah, naked and afraid. Yeah, because somebody's going to have to collect up all of Bren's gear too. Because
Yeah.
Has anyone seen that MasterCard let you put your like if you're into this whole pronoun and
I just
transgender
saw that
thing and
earlier.
and
What? I missed that.
you can put whatever name you can
Name you want on it.
if you're a trans person who's transitioned or anybody and you don't like J.R. Handley, you can put your trans name on there.
wait,
Yeah, and
what
people
is
are
it?
abusing the
And-
shit out of it
And
already.
people are abusing them.
Yeah, I saw it earlier. The one I saw was really bad. Really bad.
Really
Well,
bad.
I mean,
But,
talk
like,
to me
you
offline,
just wanted
Ricky.
to say, like, you can
Let's
tell
see.
that Nerdstrom's invented that. They're like, what would be a great idea is if people, who are transgender, they could just put their magical unicorn name on there. And no one had been in an army barracks ever in their life. Because
Oh,
that person
God.
would have said, oh, you know what? They'll abuse this.
Let's see here.
But what do you do when nobody else plays that game? Like, well, where's your ID, sir? Yeah, ma'am, whatever.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Is the main thing is that
don't share
MasterCard
this on
is
here,
getting
but
it
that's the
good
way.
and hard right now
Ugh.
for doing this. Like, I mean, they are getting sodomized by Bryce Michael Christopher in no hell.
Yeah. Can I read the quote from MasterCard real quick?
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
Wow.
Please tell you looked it up. Like, it's like you just want to who could have ever foreseen that a human being would do this?
I love the picture of the caption. For those who don't identify with the names on their card, a simple purchase can put them at risk. That's why we created True Name trademark, which lets transgender, non-binary communities display their chosen name on their card because being your true self is #priceless.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
and the internet collectively said, "Hold my beer."
Yeah.
So how are people abusing this? Like, what are they
Oh,
putting
click-
on?
click on that
we
link.
can't even
Well,
say it here.
yeah.
We would be
No.
demonetized.
Yeah,
we
you
would
can't-
All right,
be
yeah.
well, yeah,
just
no.
go to Twitter real quick and look up MasterCard.
Yeah.
It's two of the words you cannot say anymore.
Yes,
Unless
Yeah.
it's of those.
I'm sure there are many examples, and we don't need to be specific. But
Well, one's a Dire Straits term, which is whatever.
it's and the main thing to know is that this is the biggest problem in society. Is the saying, "This is why we can't have nice things," is one of the truest statements in society, which is why you have morals and values and ethics and laws and everything like that, because humans are deceitfully wicked.
So let's set aside even the abuse. Let's say I want to call myself Purple Unicorn. I mean, what sense does that actually even make when, strictly speaking, someone's supposed to ID you when you use a card, and unless you've got like your Florida driver's license says Purple Unicorn, what good does the Bizarro name do for you?
It allows you to portray your true self because your truth is more important than whatever.
Yeah,
But it makes your card,
certainly
what
not
Robin
true.
is saying is it makes your card infinitely more your account
Do they
infinitely
distinguish
more
between your
available to
true
hacking
name
for
and your
someone to steal
stage
your
name?
ID.
Yeah, that's just like that's almost as bad as the Victoria's Secret change of venue with eliminating the angels. But yeah, I digress.
think
In
Megan
their stock
Rapinoe's
market
clam.
value too.
I think Megan Rapinoe's clam digger line of underwear is going to be great.
No, but you know what's funny? I actually read a couple articles on this. They're not actually even doing any underwear based on that. They're just killing the angels, and they're going to have a what do you call it? A podcast with these crazy people.
There's not going to be no clam digger underwear.
No, evidently not.
I'm never wearing Victoria's Secret again.
Yeah, me neither.
Nice. It's all garbage. It's all.
I will say that this is
I'm banned
news
from. I'm banned from Victoria's Secrets anyway, so it doesn't matter.
It's the
Did it have
mustache.
to do with the mustache? Yeah.
Yeah.
How
I
about
went in
this
with a
one?
friend, and she was trying stuff on, and the helper like, "Sir, may I help you?" "No, I'm just looking." "Can you leave, sir?" We
Were
don't
you
trust the
walking around with
mustache.
your camera?
Yeah, no.
If you have
No.
if you have faith that they're going to come back, now's the time to buy the stocks because they're tanking hard.
Oh my God. So yeah, so you guys are going to take off to the other side of the island and deal with the sirens, or are you gonna see if this this third brother exists?
I think we.
I think we got to see about the brother first.
We've got him on the ropes. We don't want that guy getting shit together.
Aren't I looking for?
We got 5 grenades to take him out.
What's that, Ted?
Aren't I looking for the Night of the Old Sun? Isn't that what I'm supposed to be doing here?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You're
Does anybody else know this?
just you.
Just me? Well, now all you know this. So
But now in your
No, I
deafness, you
don't.
screamed it out.
cat's out of that bag.
I don't, because I'm out running around hiking my leg on trees and eating weird things. And
I'm
Kinda
taking
hack up
victory
Benny.
laps over my creative use of explosives.
Could you imagine what that
Good day.
what that walk of shame is going to look like when Bren walks back into camp and being like, "All right, so what happened?"
Where's Benny? You ate him. Wait, Benny.
It's that same.
my God, I
guilty
used to look
feeling
up to him.
on a Sunday morning in the barracks when you woke up in the PT field and in a
Oh,
state
God.
of undress, and you're not sure how you got there, and now you have to go back and put the clues together.
It's like Memento in reverse.
Yeah, like what did I
Yes.
do? There is no more naked and afraid than trying to figure out what you did.
Oh my God! During one of those barracks runs.
I've had similar experiences.
Oh my! I might have done that a time or two.
I'm
Or
not going
four.
to get into details. Those are stories most people don't know.
I still can't get over that Twitter thing.
I know it's amazing, isn't it?
I just think it's great that the internet will teach you the error of your ways.
Pretty much.
The internet provides.
We're coming out on 2 hours. So don't forget to check out highbornleather.com and let's get Ted some work. Get him doing some stuff.
Yeah,
Awesome.
he'll start be putting out gnome wear soon.
Yep.
I'll rebrand some stuff.
Leather
You know what would be,
Benny,
you know
that's
what,
what you'll call it.
you know what would be great, Ted, is if you could make like JR sort of a leather Skyrim mask or like a GIMP mask, and
Oh,
then
God.
JR can turn on his camera. JR can turn on his camera and actually be on, right? Would that be
Oh,
like
yeah.
JR?
Like a
Like, if
leather
you had, like, a
luchador Mexican
if you
wrestler
had-
mask.
Yeah, if you had like a mask.
Mexican wrestler match.
Do you want the zipper over the mouth to be open?
Well, where else are we going to put the ball gag?
Ted, can you make it put some sort? We need to have like a device on it so we can hit a button to shut JR up. It automatically zips or unzips. Like,
JR, could you
My
wear a
nephew.
mask and be on TV?
I think you broke him.
Is that within the court order?
No.
Oh my God. If you want more of this insanity, please check out nickcole.substack.com. That way you can get all your ball gag. If you want to get sample some of the cool dice that we had, check out awesomedice.com
He's still laughing.
/
Single white
question.
Medusa is on Substack. She's a nice person.
Does
Yes,
she have her own now, or is she still with yours?
She's with me. She's my sidekick, and apparently the audience likes her more than they like me.
he is pretty awesome.
If you want to check out where we based the majority of this game on, check out ForgottenRuin.com.
Yeah.
Which is the stories of the United States Army Rangers going forward in time to escape a horror done to their world and ending up in a place that desperately needs their help. So
if you want to feel great about America, just go over to Amazon and read the reviews of Forgotten Ruin. And the best part is there are 2 types of reviews: people who are butthurt about Rangers, who probably are SEALs, and Rangers. and 2 more disparate reviews you could not have. It's great. My favorite one is, "This book is not hard enough on SEALs."
Oh my God, that's awesome.
I gotta go talk to NSpec, figure out how you guys manage all these different websites.
They have an
Wait,
army
aren't you like a computer genius?
I am, but I don't have the time to do all this stuff. Yeah, it's like I can do any of it.
When are you going to come on my podcast and tell us all your creepy Bill Gates stories?
I want to hear that.
Anything's possible.
You said you have a good story, right?
Oh, I
It's
have
not
some
just
really
the
good stuff. Yeah.
It's not the
Oh,
party.
yeah.
You just went to the party and he was like, "I am Bill Gates." Like,
Nah.
you've got. I need some weird stuff, like really dark.
I want to be there.
Yeah. There's definitely some good stuff.
Okay.
Well, speaking of good stuff, we'll be back next week for when sci-fi writers are playing old school D&D, and don't forget to catch us around now when we do our AAR for D&D After Dark. Hey, Ted, thanks again for coming out, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for the invite, man. I look forward to joining again.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.